So we're going to look at finding or using the cosine rule in trigonometry. So we use the cosine rule when they're non-right angle triangles. So really like sine rule. So with non-right angle triangles, you're going to check the sine rule work for you. Can you solve the triangle using the sine rule? If you can't, you're going to use the cosine rule. So it's going to be one or the other. So I suppose sine rule is straight. Well, both are straightforward, but probably sine rule is more straightforward. So try that first. If that doesn't work, then you're going to look at cosine rule. So your formula for it is in your log tables, and this is the formula here. Wait, I just highlight it for you. So here, a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2 times bc cosine a. As we said before, the small letters represent sides and the large letters represent angles. So one side squared, so side squared equals the other side squared plus the other side squared minus 2 times them multiplied by each other. Cosine, the angle that's opposite the side that's out here. So what I mean by that, if this is A out here, so what you'd call A, then it's whatever side that is, the corresponding or the opposite angle to it has to be out here. So you see in the books they'll have 1, 2, 3 kind of variations of the formula, and that's because whatever's on the outside here has to have the angle at the end there. So if we use B, it's obviously B here, C and C here. But don't learn it as A, B and C, because in some triangles it could be QP or it could be ABC in different formats. So just learn it as side and then opposite angle at the end of it. So we use the cosine rule. So when the sine rule doesn't work, which is pretty much when if we're given the length of 2 sides and the measure of the angle in between them are given the length of 3 sides. So like in all trigonometry that we've done this far, like just don't forget that if this side is C, then the angle up here is C. If this side is B, then the angle over here, which is opposite, is B. And if this side is A, then the angle over here, which is opposite, is A. So just don't forget that and keep reinforcing that. So the question we're going to look at, find the biggest angle in the triangle PQR, correct to 2 decimal places. So the biggest angle. So we know from geometry that the biggest in triangles, the largest side will always be opposite the largest angle. So our largest side here is 15. So therefore our largest angle is up here. You can call it theta, or indeed you can just call it or, whichever you want. That's going to be our largest angle because it's opposite our largest side. Just like P would obviously be our smallest angle because that's opposite the smallest side. So how do we go about finding that? So like it's not a right angle triangle, so we try sine rule. So sine rule, we'd need side over angle equals a side over angle. We don't have enough information. We'd have 2 unknowns there, so we can't use that. So we're going to try use our cosine rule. So our cosine rule is a side squared is equal to another side squared plus the last side squared minus 2 times them sides cosine the angle opposite the side where we stayed at the beginning. So we know we're trying to find the angle. So it's our angle that's going to be unknown. So it's going to be like cosine or in this case. So if I used to use these letters, it would be r squared is equal to p squared because this is r. Sure. 15 would be r. I'm trying to write 15 or beside 15 there, just it keeps moving. This would be r, this would be q, and this would be p if we were to fill it into our formula. So it'd be like r squared is equal to q squared plus p squared minus 2pq cosine r. So we'll just fill it in. So our side squared, which is corresponding to the angle we're trying to find, so it's going to be 15 squared is equal to 14 squared plus 13 squared minus 2 times 14 times 13 cosine r, because that's the angle we're trying to find. And like I said, this must be opposite this, which it is in our case. So we'll have 15 squared, which is 225, equals 14 squared, which is 196, plus 13 squared, which is 169, minus 2 times 14 times 13, which is 364 cosine r. Just be aware there that they're stuck together, like they're actually multiplying by each other, so I can't just subtract them numbers. So I'll have 225 is equal to 196 plus 169, which is 365 minus 364 cosine r. Let's move this down. So we'll have, we're obviously trying to find the cosine r here because that's our unknown. So we'll try to get it on its own. So we'll have 225 minus 365 equals minus 364 cosine r. So 225 minus 365 will give us minus 140 equals minus 364 cosine r. We're trying to find cosine r. We can see from that cosine r minus 364 are multiplying by each other. So we'll bring the minus 364 across and it becomes a divisor. So cosine r is equal to 140 divided by, well, minus 140 or minus, which is obviously going to give a plus because that's two minuses. We're trying to find r, which is an angle, and anytime we're trying to find an angle, we use the inverse because the cosine has to cross the equals. So it's inverse cosine on minus 140 over minus 365. So r is going to be equal to, so this is all calculator work from here, so inverse cosine on minus 140 over minus 365 and close your bracket. So which is how many decimal places? You say 2 decimal places. So r is going to be 67 degrees, 67.45 degrees. Okay, for example 2, I'm quickly just going to try find AB. So find line AB. So I have to figure out, I'm going to use my cosine rule, my sine rule won't work. I need to find this angle here though. And we know that the three of them together make up 180, so it's going to be 180 minus 63 plus 42, which will give me 75. So I know that this angle here is 75 degrees. So now I can go about finding it. So I'm going to call this x because that's what I'm finding. My 75 degrees is opposite that, so I know that's going to be at the end of it. So fill into my formula, I'm going to have x squared is equal to, so a side, which is 10 squared, plus 16 squared, minus 2 times 10 times 16, cosine 75. Obviously, always write out the formula, it's just I'm running out of time here, so so just to quickly recap, so I was trying to find AB, so marked as x. That's going outside the equals, so first before the equals, that means its corresponding or opposite angle has to be at the end, which it is, and then my other two sides are just on the triangle there. So I have x squared is equal to 10 squared, which is 100, plus 16 squared is 265, minus 320 cosine 75. All of them are numbers on the right hand side of that equals, so I can input them all into my calculator. So I'll have 100 plus 265 minus 320 cosine 75. So that gives me 282.1779. Keep it to 4 decimal places until the end. I want to find x, so I have to get the square root of 282.1779. I think in the exam paper this actually said 2 decimal places, so x is equal to the square root of 282.1779 equals 16.1 decimal place we go because it's 798, so we'll go 1 decimal place, so it must have been 1 decimal place, which is 16.8 meters. Therefore we know x is no longer just x, we can call it 16.8 meters. So that's cosine rule. Hopefully it makes it a bit clearer.